I'm Ezra Levant. It's June 12th, and you're watching Battleground. Well, hello and welcome every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, 5 p.m. in the UK, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. We have a live chat for 1 hour. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, your comments scroll up by the 100. If you want to have a super chat comment, you can chip in a few bucks, and it's pinned there and put in bright colors. And the great news is, it's one of the few things that Google actually pays us as a content creator. We get the dough. I just have to say, I'm blown away by what's happened in the last 24 hours in Korea, rather in Singapore, about Korea. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting, as our British friends say, but it's pretty persuasive. I'm going to refer to the actual text of the document, and I'll want to show that and read through it in a minute. But that's the dry, lawyerly output. The real work is trying to get Kim Jong-un, a reclusive hermit, son of a hermit, son of a hermit. So he's the third generation in this family dictatorship tyranny, this dynasty, how to get him to do a deal with Donald Trump, the master of the art of the deal. And I want to show you a short prepared video that the White House put out, very short. There's actually no words on it. It's just imagery. And I'm going to show you this video, and I'm going to tell you the criticism of it. This is the fancy video, let's call it. And then I'm going to show you a very unusual video styled as a movie that Donald Trump played for Kim Jong-un in Singapore, a movie made just for him. I have to say it's the most interesting movie I think I've seen. Well, I can't even remember when. It's the most interesting propaganda directed at one person. You know, on Facebook you can really target ads. I don't know if you know that. We're a little bit in the media business here, so you can target an ad on Facebook to men or women, people of a certain age, people who live in a certain place, people who like a certain rock band, people who work somewhere. You can really specify it, and that's why you get such unique and personalized ads on the internet. It's wonderful. Imagine making a whole movie, or about a 4 or 5 minute movie, just for one person. I will show you that video in its entirety a little bit. First, I want to say hello to Kairos Papagos, who chipped in $5. Thank you. First time in a live show. Love your work. I don't agree with everything you say, but that's a good thing. That's why we have friendly discussions. Well, isn't that the truth, Kairos? Thank you very much for saying that. We've been having this daily chat for over a month now. I think it's pretty fun. I do my best to read all of the super chats, because if folks are kicking in a few bucks, the least I can do is read theirs. On Fridays, by the way, for those who don't know, we call it Free for All Fridays, where I just read as many comments as possible. Obviously all the super chat comments, but I try and read the non-super chat ones. And I do like reading the critical questions, or even mild insults. I don't want to get into too much profanity, and there's some profanity there, but not too much. The reason I like reading the critical questions is maybe there's an underlying issue there that we have to talk about. So thanks for your friendly words, Kairos. But without further ado, let me play for you now a quick clip put out by the White House about Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un walking side by side in Singapore. Very simple, isn't it? No words. Grandiose music. And what's so notable about this is the parity, the equality in the number of North Korean flags and American flags. The two men, just the two of them, side by side, equals in every way. There was only one tiny thing that showed Donald Trump was the big dog, and that was when they shook hands. Trump put his hand on Kim Jong-un's other arm as it's a Trump move. But other than that one tiny flicker, the entire thing was equality between the two men. And I won't play you a lot of clips about it now. I'm going to show some of them on my 8 p.m. show tonight. But oh, how dare Trump legitimize Kim Jong-un? How dare he give such prestige? Look at this enormous victory he's given to Kim Jong-un. Yeah, my first reaction to that is, we've already given him plenty of victories. Bill Clinton and Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of State at the time, gave a massive victory to Kim Jong-un going to Pyongyang, where Kim Jong-un put on a spectacular war show where one of the images was rockets being launched. So yeah, we've already given him everything: money, oil, permission to build nukes, whatever. This isn't about that. This is about the psychology of getting Kim Jong-un to do a deal. And you'll see that psychology in the second video I show you in a moment. The music in that piece was majestic. It had a historic feeling, just the two men. Because if you're going to do a deal with Kim Jong-un, you have to psychologically, emotionally plug into a very unique and strange man. It has been noted that Kim Jong-un has probably never been in a real negotiation in his life. Now, I don't think that's quite true, because of course he would be given instructions, and he has had meetings with President Xi of China. And North Korea is really a client state of China, so he would have been given marching orders by China. I wouldn't say it was definitely a negotiation. Kim Jong-un would never have negotiated to buy a car, to buy a house, negotiated any business deal. He is the authoritarian autocrat where his word is law, even a sort of divine law in North Korea. Has he ever negotiated with someone before? Well, no, I think is the answer. I mean, others in the North Korean government have parleyed with the West, but I would say that it was all bad faith trickery on the part of North Korea. And that's why people are skeptical now, obviously. But if you want to get someone to move beyond gaming your negotiations, using it as trickery, taking all the concessions the West will give, but not actually giving anything, and that, perpetual brinksmanship, take what you can get, then do some bad cop activities, get some more compromises and concessions, be a good boy for a bit, and then be a bad boy again and shoot some missiles and do some nuke tests and then get some like that. That's the game that Kim Jong-un has played. Bad faith negotiating that was just playing off the fools in the West, particularly John Kerry and Barack Obama. But if you actually want Kim Jong-un to actually do a deal, you got to push the right buttons in him. And Donald Trump, I think, is really the only president I can think of who could do that. And this way is probably the only way to do it. As Shimon Peres used to say about Israel negotiating with terrorists, he said, well, yeah, that's how peace negotiations are done. You do them with your enemies, not your friends. So the idea that you're normalizing or legitimizing your enemy, well, that is one of the byproducts of trying to make peace with them, especially if they live in a land of symbology and iconography and where they believe they are a God, son, child, prophet, Messiah. Was it over the top? Was it too luxurious? I mean, Donald Trump would never have such a effusive display for somebody like Justin Trudeau. Of course not. But he's trying to game Kim Jong-un. That is a very lengthy introduction to a very short video, but I just see that there's another super chat here. Kappa Dasau says, Trump's an asshole, and that's a great blessing. Well, there's something to that. If you're looking for a boyfriend, if you're looking for a babysitter, if you're looking for someone to, do you a kind favor, a personal favor, yeah, don't choose Trump. But if you're looking for a guy to be the toughest hombre around and take on tough problems that are intransigent, problems that have been lingering for decades, This North Korean problem is 68 years old since the start of the Korean War. That war is still ongoing, by the way. It's just in a ceasefire. There was no formal peace treaty to end it. You probably need a bad hombre. And Barack Obama really never negotiated anything in his life, and it showed. The deals he gave away to Iran, the deals he gave away to North Korea, he did literally nothing as Putin just devoured the Crimea from Ukraine. George W. Bush was not much better, the way he let Putin devour Georgia. So my point is, I think you need a tough son of a gun if you're going to try and do the biggest deal in history, modern history at least. Now let me show you the most fascinating video I have seen since I can recall. I've seen propaganda videos, I've seen modern political videos, I've watched Leni Riefenstahl's propaganda for Hitler, really some of the first effective use of the cinematography for propaganda. The Nazi imagery, very much designed to persuade. This is on par with that in terms of its power. I want to show you the entire video, and then we're going to go through it, and we're going to break. I watched Scott Adams' review of it, and I'm impressed with his take on it. I have a couple of things to add, believe it or not. I yield to Scott Adams in his discussion of persuasiveness all the time. Of course, he's the master of it. But there are a couple of things about North Korea that come to mind, and about Kim Jong-un that Scott Adams just didn't have time to get to, I'm sure. Here's the thing. This video you're about to see has been panned by the fancy people. They're laughing at it. All the failed film school grads who thought they'd be a big deal in Hollywood are now writing blogs for Huffington Post or whatever. They laugh at this. I see someone said, oh, this is like something you'd see on The Apprentice. It's so schlocky. Yeah, who's this movie for? This movie was played just for Kim Jong-un. This was a movie made for one person. So what's that one person like? Well, probably not like some millennial, luxurious, liberal in Brooklyn, hipster, having avocado toast, talking about trans this and Islamophobia that. It's probably going to be someone who's deeply paranoid, but also narcissistic, who has been told that he is a god, but knows he's a man, but still likes to think of himself as a god, and a historic player who enjoys getting the world to dance. Like, think of the psychology, think of the history. Think about Kim Jong-un's fascination with fine things, and his tastes are interesting. Film, he's obsessed with film. His father was obsessed with film. 20,000 films he had in the library. His father kidnapped a leading film director in South Korea. Kidnapped, because it was just obsessed with films. They would make films. He sees the West and the world through films. Sylvester Stallone, of course, he had a strange friendship with, I just forgot his name, the basketball player, the NBA star. Oh, Charles Rodman, sorry, that's right, Rodman. So the NBA makes an appearance. So you got Sly Stallone, he makes an appearance. You got Rodman, the NBA makes an appearance. You got fancy things that he likes. You're going to see a speedboat. You're going to see heavy industry of the Stalinist variety that's so important in North Korea, in a weird sort of 50s idea about what the future is, like monorails. And you're going to laugh because you're a savvy Westerner like me, postmodern. You say, monorails. Yeah, we make fun of monorails in The Simpsons. Yeah, not in North Korea. That's sort of, you got a monorail. So without further throat clearing, let me now play for you in full. Oh, I want to say one last thing. This video clip, it's got the White House branding on it, but it starts out with a pretend film company like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer or 20th Century Fox. I think it's called Destiny Film. Dennis Rodman, sorry, I was saying Charles Rodman. This film starts out like pretending to be a movie. Like it's made up film company name to it. Let's watch.
Seven billion people inhabit planet Earth. Of those alive today, only a small number will leave a lasting impact. And only the very few will make decisions or take actions that renew their homeland and change the course of history. History may appear to repeat itself for generations, cycles that never seem to end. There have been times of relative peace and times of great tension. While this cycle repeats, the light of prosperity and innovation has burned bright for most of the world. History is always evolving, and there comes a time when only a few are called upon to make a difference. But the question is, what difference will the few make? The past doesn't have to be the future. Out of the darkness can come the light, and the light of hope can burn bright. What if a people that share a common and rich heritage can find a common future? Their story is well known, but what will be their sequel? Destiny Pictures presents a story of opportunity, a new story, a new beginning, one of peace, two men, two leaders, one destiny. A story about a special moment in time when a man is presented with one chance that may never be repeated. What will he choose? To show vision and leadership? Or not? There can only be two results. One of moving back, or one of moving forward. A new world can begin today. One of friendship, respect, and goodwill. Be part of that world, where the doors of opportunity are ready to be opened. Investment from around the world, where you can have medical breakthroughs, an abundance of resources, innovative technology, and new discoveries. What if? Can history be changed? Will the world embrace this change? And when could this moment in history begin? It comes down to a choice. On this day, in this time, at this moment, the world will be watching, listening, anticipating, hoping. Will this leader choose to advance his country and be part of a new world? Be the hero of his people? Will he shake the hand of peace and enjoy prosperity like he has never seen? A great life or more isolation? Which path will be chosen? Featuring President Donald Trump and Chairman Kim Jong-un in a meeting to remake history, to shine in the sun. One moment, one choice. What if? The future remains to be written.
I have to say that's an amazing, amazing piece of work. It gives me the chills, and I like to think I'm sort of normal, immersed in the modern culture, postmodern culture, media culture. But I can't help but notice the quirks of that. I mentioned NBA because of Dennis Rodman. I mentioned Sly Stallone. These are the things we know Kim Jong-un knows about, cares about, is obsessed with, his images of the West. I thought it was interesting that certain things that we in the postmodern world think of as maybe not that appealing, like high voltage power transmission lines, that was the future. And we sort of laugh because we find those unsightly. But of course, they don't have electricity in much of North Korea. We'll watch the movie again, and I'll stop it in a few parts, but you'll recall there was a part where the famous image of the Korean peninsula from space at night, and the south is ablaze with light, especially Seoul, Korea, and the north is dark, a tiny little dot in Pyongyang. And the future is, boom, on come the lights in the north. Very exciting. Power, hydroelectric dams. We take dams for granted. I mean, they're sort of cool. I mean, Hoover Dam is sort of cool. I once visited, I visited a few dams. They're pretty cool. Guys think they're cool, I think, maybe some gals too. If you don't have any dams, you want one. And that's sort of the Stalinist heavy industry. Drones, you know. So I think the cynical, I'm just seeing so many criticisms of this film out there, as if this was made for someone in Brooklyn who's saying, well, where's the trans character? And well, it's not about you, and one of the reasons I showed the first Trump White House video that was majestic and done, probably 90% for the general population, was to show Donald Trump knows how to make a movie if he wants to. The guy was in the heart of showbiz for a decade between The Apprentice and his other shows, including Miss America. The guy's a master of showbiz. He knows things about the media that they've sort of forgotten about themselves, about their psychology and how they work. Destiny Pictures. Oh, that's over the top, says you and me. You don't think Kim Jong-un thinks about his destiny all the time? You don't think the royal family in the United Kingdom thinks about their destiny and what it means and what's their purpose? Well, of course they do, but they are subject to a constitution, and they are no longer considered to have divine right. All the self-doubts that we know about that the royal family has. What's our purpose? Why am I doing it? Imagine those for godlike autocrat like Kim Jong-un, son of a dictator, grandson of a dictator. Imagine the weight of history. History doesn't have to repeat itself. Great civilizations. You gotta, I mean, you and I'm in Canada, you're watching in Canada, United States, United Kingdom, and they showed the Colosseum in Rome. They showed Westminster Parliament buildings in London. They showed these amazing civilizations, and North Korea. You and I would sort of chuckle that North Korea would be put on par with these mighty historic civilizations, the Roman Empire. Yeah, no, but you don't think this was built based on a heavy-duty, deep forensic analysis of everything the CIA has ever learned about this guy? Everything. Everything that any visitor has come back, and every, hacked message, everything that they knew about him was put into this. History doesn't have to repeat itself. Surely the echoes of his past generations had the same thoughts. There was another thing I want to comment on, and we'll play it through again. Where was the leader of South Korea? He was there. You remember when Kim Jong-un stepped across the symbolic border at Panmunjom. It wasn't Donald Trump who greeted him, it was the leader of South Korea. He was there, but his face was not shown. He was dark when Kim was light. This was about two great men. The leader of the free world, Donald Trump, and Kim on equal standing. Because Kim Jong-un obviously has no respect or fear for his southern counterpart. He probably believes that all of Korea should be his. That's why the Korean War began. So it's interesting to me the parity of the two men. And again, that was the criticism of the left, or not even the left, the never-Trumpers had. I want to show you when Barack Obama, we have the picture of Barack Obama meeting with Raul Castro in Cuba. This picture makes me laugh so hard because Obama deliberately made his wrist limp because he didn't want to be seen to be doing some communist fist in the air kind of thing, which Raul, like he was clearly uncomfortable by Raul Castro picking up his arm, like that, to do some sort of socialismo o muerte. So he made his wrist limp on purpose, which looks just so awful, but I think it would have been more awful if he would have had a fist up. Would you agree with me? I just to indulge myself, can I show you one more little clip of Obama, Justin Trudeau, and the Mexican president? We just need a second to get it. It's a three-way handshake. By the way, don't try and do a three-way handshake. It doesn't really work because your right hand shakes with someone else's right hand. So if there's a third person, you got to have a left hand thing going on, and it doesn't really work. Let me know when we have that. There we go. yeah, you go. Yeah, that's the through. Anyways, I'm just having some handshake fun there. But do you see why it might be important for Donald Trump to elevate Kim Jong-un, who we all know is a murderer, a mass murderer, a destroyer of civil rights, someone who has enslaved his own population, has caused a man-made famine, who's a torturer, who's a war criminal. Do you see how it might be important, if you actually want a real deal with such a man, that you have to enter into his psychological world? Do you see how that might be something important to do? If you actually want a deal. If you just want to be a plaything for them, like Madeleine Albright, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, or if you just want to toy with him for press releases, yeah, do whatever. But if you actually want a deal, so we're going to, it's 12:26. I want to read a few comments, and then we're going to go through the video, and I'm going to pause it at a few things, because there's a few other images I want to talk about. Mikey won 10,000. Kim's got less morals than a halal butcher. Well, Kim is an evil man, that's for sure. But he's also, if you can, try to put yourself in his position, son of a tyrant, son of a tyrant. And his perception of the world is so skewed. There are all these legends about his grandfather and his father and about him, that they have mystical powers, that they're the most powerful people in the world, that they have scientific powers, that they have supernatural powers, that they came, when they were born there was a miracle, there was the sun rose twice or something. I don't know the exact myths, but there's all these supernatural myths around them, that they are godlike. And if you grow up and your grandpa was a god, and your dad was a god, and it's said that you're a god, you're not just dealing with royalty, like the British family, you're dealing with a cult royalty that believes it has divine power, or at least says so. And do you believe it yourself? That's a tough guy to negotiate with, don't you think? Let me read some more comments. Miss USA, not Miss America, says Jonathan Bryant. Thank you for the correction. I'm just going off the cuff here on these noon hour shows, so I'm going to get things wrong. I call them Charles Rodman instead of Dennis Rodman. I'm sorry. John Zealand, Victoria says, John Zealand, with any luck, but don't hold your breath. Steve G, for it to be given a chance, my Kim needs to be given a clean slate. Will that happen? Well, you'll notice many times in that film, the narrative was, the past doesn't have to predict the future. You can change the past. You can get out of those old cycles. Let me help you get into the future. A hand of peace. Isn't that interesting? Capadasso says, Ezra Levant could compete in Miss America considering the recent rule changes. You're right, because in the past, only the swimsuit competition was what kept me out, because there are several court orders forbidding me from going outside and showing anyone. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, I'm making a joke there. But of course I would be hideous. But of course, they took the beauty out of the beauty pageant, so I'm a real contender now. I was going to make a joke about Arrested Development and and the never nude in there. I'll save that joke for later. I'm going to read a couple more comments, and then we're going to watch the film one more time. Petra Rushby says, Lauren Southern, great name. Steve G said, Mark Jones, don't take offense to what I'm saying, just my opinion. Andrew Bursack, Otto's family is suing North Korea. You're referring to Otto Warmbier. an American who was kidnapped by North Korea and tortured and murdered by them. And indeed, he was not the first or the only one. What's interesting to me is, and I should have mentioned this, Donald Trump called off this negotiation. Do you recall a couple weeks ago? Because Kim made some disparaging comments about America. And Trump just tweeted a letter that he sent to Kim. It was very polite. He says, I'm sorry you feel that way. We can't have this discussion if you're not submitting to this process. If you want me to come back, I will, but until then, until you correct things, I'm out of here. And that landed like a thud. Because for his whole life, Kim Jong-un is used to toying with negotiators in the West who wanted a deal more than he did. And here you had Donald Trump just canceling this great summit that Trump had built up so much. Trump said, oh, you're giving me lip, I'm out. In that same letter, he said, thank you, by the way, for releasing the prisoners. I appreciate that, but if you're not going to submit to our process, I'm out. You can call me if you change your mind. So Trump literally walked away, stunned Kim. We know that because of how Kim's officials reacted. And we also know that because Kim said, come back, come back, come back, please come back, and sent high-level advisors to meet directly with Trump at the White House. So step one, Trump showed he was willing to walk away, something Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton never did. Step two, Trump got concessions in advance. He got the release of these prisoners, and he basically got a commitment to a denuclearization of the peninsula before this summit even happened, didn't he? I saw another super chat. Let me read it. Lisa Leto says, there is a rumor that Kim's great-grandparents were Christian. It's very interesting. I have not heard that rumor. It's possible. There are a lot of Koreans who are Christian, so that may be the case. I don't know. I think that whatever Christianity was in that family has long since been purged. I think that they are their own gods, and they act that way. And that's one of the reasons why Trump has to approach him so. I mean, if you were negotiating with a David Koresh or with a, you know, I'm not going to say Scientology because I think they sort of know that's a gig. But if you were dealing with a Rasputin, someone who actually thought they were, like if you were dealing with a Nostradamus or something, someone who thought they had supernatural religious powers, you would talk to them differently than you would negotiate at a G7 conference. Let's play the Donald Trump persuasion video one more time, and I'm going to halt it at a few moments and add a few comments as we go. And it's 12:32, so I'm cognizant of the time. So let's play that one more time, and I'll probably stop at about 4 times. Here we go. Okay, so stop right there. What's that lake? I don't know. But do you doubt that lake? Can you put the picture of the lake up just for 1 second? Do you doubt that that lake has a deep symbolic meaning? Is that, I mean, I could research it. Is that a lake where that has historical resonance? Is that a lake where he supposedly was born? Where his grandfather was born? I don't know. But don't you doubt for 1 second that this has a deep meaning to him. And I just love that Destiny Pictures bit. Just love it. Keep going.
$7 billion people in
that sun, and you'll see that about 3 times. Is that just wow, this is big. Can we put, yeah, I'll come back in a second. There are many legends and myths about Kim and his father and grandfather, and some of them involve solar events. Do you doubt that has a symbolic meaning? Why is that there? Again, I Googled some of the mythology around Kim's family before coming on the show today, and I'm not in a position to say I have the definitive explanation, but to look at this as just some film out of Hollywood is wrong. This film was surely crafted at Langley. Okay, keep going.
7 billion people inhabit planet Earth. Of those alive today, only a small number will leave a lasting impact.
Did you see that? I'm reminded they had the Acropolis, the Greek Empire. They had the pyramids from the mighty Egyptian pharaohs. Does anyone in the world actually think North Korea will endure thousands of years from now as this mighty empire? No. And maybe Kim Jong-un doesn't either. But that's his whole life's narrative. We are a mighty place that can stand up to Donald Trump and America and Obama. And again, this movie was made to convince one person, and that person ain't you and me. Keep going.
And only the very few will make decisions or take actions that renew their homeland and change the course of history. History may appear to repeat itself for generations, cycles that never seem to end. There have been times of relative peace and times of great tension. While this cycle repeats, the light of prosperity and innovation has burned bright for most of the world.
Did you see those goggles that guy was wearing? Like, it feels like a 1960s vision of the future. In the future, we will have monorails. In the future, we will... What's that guy doing? What is that guy doing? I don't know. Maybe that's some gaming. I don't know. Is that 3D immersion, virtual reality gaming? Maybe that's actually cooler than I think. But that, I think, to maybe I'm showing that I'm out of touch. But I mean, monorail and I think this is what Kim Jong-un thinks the future is, Oculus Rift and stuff like that. Okay, keep going.
Has burned bright for most of the world. History is always evolving, and there comes a time when only a few are called upon to make a difference. But the question is, what difference will the few make? The past doesn't have to be the future. Out of the darkness can come the light, and the light of hope can burn bright. What if a people that share a common and rich heritage can find a common future? Their story is well known, but what will be their sequel?
Look at that. Did you see that spotlight on Kim Jong-un and not that, who's that other guy? Well, that's the thing. This is about elevating Kim Jong-un as an equal to Trump. Do you think he's an equal to Trump? No. Does Trump think he's an equal to Trump? No. Are you and I the target market of this? No. The God, Emperor, Hermit King, Divine Second Sun in the Sky is the target here. They literally are blacking out the South Korean leader to show how important Kim is. What do you think so far? Okay, keep going.
Will be their sequel. Destiny Pictures presents a story of opportunity, a new story, a new beginning, one of peace, two men, two leaders, one destiny. A story about a special moment in time when a man is presented with one chance that may never be repeated. What will he choose? To show vision and leadership? Or not?
You know, how many times have they shown that sun? I mean, are they up to 10 already? I am now very curious about what the symbology of that is. That there's not a single frame in this movie is accidental. I mean, it's a fascinating thing, and even when they say, or we can have this amazing future, or things are going to go bad again. And did you see how it was burning through an old piece of film? Like, people today don't even remember that film used to be an actual film, and it was on reels, and it would go over a bright light that was really hot. And if it stopped, the heat of the light would burn the film. I don't think anyone in the Western world has even seen, as young as Kim Jong-un, has even seen a reel-to-reel film like that. Like, at the oldest, if you're 35 or something, you've seen a VHS or a DVD. But remember, Kim Jong-un's dad had 20,000 films, a reel-to-reel film that was loaded up on a hot projector light. So even that symbol there, that was targeted at a guy who probably thought, oh, you wrecked my favorite movie, and that dream that I had about watching that fantasy is now wrecked. Like, don't you think that's a likely meaning of that? Anyhow, keep going.
There can only be two results. One of moving back. Or one of moving forward.
Wasn't that great? You go back to that lights on. That's that shot from space that I was referring to. That's the fake one. Can you scroll back just 5 more? Yeah, that's the real satellite image. South Korea is lit up with light, that big, big, bright spot in the northwest. That's Seoul, Korea, one of the mightiest cities in the world. Unfortunately, so close to the North Korean border, it's literally within range of artillery shells. That's what's so scary to the south. That's why no president before has risked going to war, because even if North Korea didn't have nukes, its conventional artillery could theoretically kill 1 million people in Seoul, South Korea. But you've got a tiny little spot of light in Pyongyang. Now roll forward. This is the dream. This is, boom. And it is quite a dream. And you know what? I think that could come true. Don't you agree with me that South Korea, and for that matter Japan, would probably put $1 trillion into North Korea if a real peace were done? Don't you think they would? Of course they would. Not just out of solidarity and an insurance policy against a rogue nuclear state, but out of brotherly friendship and also capitalist opportunity. I mean, if the North become as productive as the South, then you're looking at the greatest opportunity since the Germanies united after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And the thing is, Gorbachev and the Berlin Wall fell because they were being nudged and toppled from the outside. But Donald Trump is trying to go in and make the Panmunjom Wall come down. That's a lot harder. That would be like sending Ronald Reagan in to meet Gorbachev in 1988, let's say, and try and make him move to peace. That's how audacious Trump's visit is. Okay, keep rolling.
A new world can begin today. One of friendship, respect, and goodwill.
What were those horses? You know what? If I have the time and ability, I would try and find out, what are those horses from? There's been a few fantasy scenes in this movie. Horses running. Now, it's just plain horses, but they almost have a mystical, magical feeling. And a lot of those sky, cloud, heaven things. Is this some allegory? Is this some reference to his favorite film as a child? I don't know, but I can't believe they would choose that fantasy horse clip by accident, just like the NBA was not by accident, Dennis Rodman. Sly Stallone, not by accident. There's a message there. This is your dream. It's a dream for your people. It's a historic civilizational moment. But maybe you can meet Sly Stallone. Maybe you can go to an NBA game. Okay, keep rolling.
One of friendship, respect, and goodwill. Be part of that world. where the doors of opportunity are ready to be opened. Investment from around the world, where you can have medical breakthroughs, an abundance of resources, innovative tech.
Hey guys, you can have an MRI. Now, we've had MRIs in the West for decades, an abundance of resources. Yeah, a supermarket that the shelves aren't empty. And if you look at the cars on that assembly, that ain't a 2018 model. Like that looks like something that's a little more dated, doesn't it? But that's where Kim Jong-un is. This is really targeted him. Okay, keep rolling.
Technology and new discoveries. What if? Can history be changed? Will the world embrace this change? And when could this moment in history begin? It comes down to a choice. On this day, in this time, at this moment, the world will be watching, listening, anticipating, hoping. Will this leader choose to advance his country and be part of a new world?
Can you scroll back? I think that was Times Square. Can you scroll back to that image of the huge TVs on that? I don't think that's an actual shot. I think that is a Photoshop. I don't even think that's Times Square now that I look at it. It's probably New York, but I don't think that's Times Square. But you have two huge jumbotrons, right? One with Donald Trump and the other with Kim Jong-un. That's most definitely, maybe that is Times Square from a different angle. I don't think it is. I don't think that shot's ever happened. I think this is a fantasy projection of, here's what it could be like, buddy. You've always wanted to go to Times Square. You've always wanted to go to New York. Imagine Donald Trump's on one side and you're on one side, because anyone who's everyone gets to be on the jumbotron at Times Square. Again, for you and me, this might be cheesy, but imagine you're a hermit king. Okay, keep rolling.
Leader choose to advance his country and be part of a new world? Be the hero of his people? Will he shake the hand of peace and enjoy prosperity like he has never seen? A great life?
Prosperity like he's never seen. First of all, I love, it's in that film, it's in that cinematographic voice. Prosperity like he's never seen. Will he shake the hand of peace? I didn't know that's what Donald Trump called his mitts, that will you shake the hand of peace? Well, if you're dealing with a hermit king, you got to go grandiose. And a speedboat like that, he's probably, I'm just guessing here, I'm guessing he liked Miami Vice. If you like your Americana, if you like your fantasy movies, I'm guessing he watched Miami Vice. And I'm guessing he wants one of them speedboats. I see a super chat, let me just read it. Do you think other nations will feel that they can improve the lot of their people by acquiring nuclear weapons and threaten the U.S. with them like Kim and then get the U.S. to buy a peace treaty? The answer, obviously, is yes, because there's both a carrot and a stick being implied here, aren't there? The stick is, and he's not quite saying it, but Trump's showing the Air Force, the Naval Battle Group, the aircraft carrier, and it was F-18 jet. So there's a little bit of stick in this movie, but I'd say it's about 90% carrot. Well, that's what happens when someone has a nuke. And Trump has made it very clear, and if you can find videos of Trump going back 15, 20 years saying, you got to deal with this before the guy has a nuke. And I think that's why Trump is so vigorous on Iran. Stop Iran before they get a nuke. Trump is trying to persuade Kim Jong-un. That's what this persuasion video is about. This guy has a nuke. He's got 20,000 pieces of artillery pointed at Seoul, Korea. We have to persuade him. Trump would like to persuade Iran. That's probably not doable. So I think there's going to be a tougher option there, because you can. Because Iran doesn't yet have the nuke or 20,000 pieces of artillery pointed at a city. I see another super chat from Penny Hutchison. Thank you, Ezra, for all you do, being a fan even before the Sun News. Well, thanks very much, Penny. I appreciate that. You know, we fight the fight. We don't always get it right, but we try our best, and we try and have a little bit of fun doing it. So thank you for reaching out to say hello. We're almost done the movie. I feel like making a peace deal with Donald Trump. I didn't have those feelings before I watched this movie. I've already got my electrification taken care of. I've already got, you know, too much food, as you can see. They had sort of a 1990s era maternity ward with the babies in the incubators. I guess that would be amazing for North Korea. So I've got a lot of the things that Trump's already offering. I've never been to an NBA game. I could go in Toronto, I guess, if I wanted to. Sly Stallone was in Toronto recently. I didn't choose to go and see him. So, but still, Donald Trump makes those things look so amazing. I want to do a peace deal with him, and I'm not even Kim Jong-un. Let's watch the rest of the movie.
Or more isolation. Which path will be chosen? Featuring President Donald Trump.
Can we go back and look at the words on the screen? Just scroll back for 1 second. I think it's sort of fun that they put a quote on the screen. Again, like a movie trailer, I really think we have a very good chance of doing something very meaningful. Donald Trump. And then they quote Kim Jong-un back to himself. We no longer will have to tighten our belts. That's quite a statement, eh? Now, I don't think that Kim Jong-un has ever had to tighten his belt. He's got a sort of a double chin there, and I'm not one to talk, but his people are so poor, they're boiling leather. They're eating grass. That's how poor and hungry they are. I want to say one more thing. That is the only time Kim Jong-un's name appears in this movie. Did you notice that? They just talk about one man, one leader. They don't actually say you, and they don't actually, so they don't break what's the phrase? Break the third wall, break the fourth wall. You know, in movies when they turn to the camera and look at you and talk to you, the viewer. It's a weird cinematic trick. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was famous for that. You know, the actors thought that, and then they look at the camera and say, "Can you believe this guy?" And then they go back to it. So they're not breaking the third wall or the fourth wall in this. They're not talking to Kim Jong-un. They're talking about him. And maybe Destiny Pictures presents. Maybe Kim Jong-un says, "Oh, this is a film that's being released. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about me. Maybe it'll be reviewed in Variety and Hollywood Reporter." and Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone's talking about it. It's a film. It's very exciting. I want to be part of this moment. I'm a movie star. It's not written, "Dear Kim Jong-un, let's persuade you." It's, "Hey world, let us tell you this glorious history. Like, let us show you how history will be written. Two amazing people, two equals, two great leaders, two great dynasties, two great citizens of the world, civilizations. You have the pyramids." I think they showed Machu Picchu a couple times. I think they might have shown the Arc de Triomphe, I can't recall. And Kim Jong-un, who's looking sexy. I mean, they tried to make him look good. My point is, I think if anything's got a chance of working, this has a chance. Okay, play the end.
In a meeting to remake history, to shine in the sun. One moment, one choice. What if? The future remains to be written.
All right, there you go. What do you think? Am I too enamored with this movie? I think it is just so emotionally powerful in a medium that Kim Jong-un likes. And it does speak truthfully, I think. If you make the right choice, you will have electrification, you will have maternity wards, you will have food, you will have speedboats, you can come see an NBA game, you will make history. It's true, don't you think? He will make history if he chooses to do this. Or if you don't, well, they didn't quite say what would happen, but the the F-18 jet made it fairly clear. I found it persuasive. And Donald Trump is getting flack from leftists saying, "Oh, you're too kind to Kim." I think you have to elevate someone who you want a concession from. And I think, I mentioned this about half an hour ago, I think not only can Trump get this deal if it's to be got, but I don't think any other leader could. I don't think they understand persuasion. I don't think they have the ice in their veins to negotiate hardball. I don't think they have the toughness to walk away. I don't think they have the bluntness to say things in a polite but firm way, like, make the right choice here. It's once in a lifetime. I mean, that, only once. This is the moment. Now this was a sign on the dotted line today kind of message. I see another super chat coming in. Tame Thing 1, could Justin be flattered out of office by a similar propaganda film? Can we try a future where Justin is a drama teacher? Again. My first instinct as I was reading your question was no. But my second, upon 30 seconds reflection, is yes. My assessment of of Justin Trudeau, is that he doesn't actually like the prime minister part of being prime minister. He likes the travel, he likes the glamour, he likes the selfies, he likes hobnobbing, he especially likes foreign travel. He's made over 56 trips. He likes the leisure time. He took yesterday off as a personal day. Donald Trump left the G7. Flew 25 hours to to Singapore, had the most intense negotiations, got on another flight 25 hours back through Guam. He's 72 years old. Justin Trudeau, I think he's 46, if I'm not mistaken. And he was so pooped from talking about being a woke male feminist that he took Monday off. He took Sunday off and Monday off because it was so exhausting. I think, to answer your question, I think Justin Trudeau would love to be some sort of world mascot. Not the Secretary General of the United Nations, because that would actually have work, and he'd be, he'd have to be in New York a lot. He loves New York, but he'd have to work. I think Justin Trudeau wants some sort of mascot type job, like a UN ambassador for global warming or something, where he can swan around, meet lots of fancy people, vacation, every couple weeks. So yeah, I think you could have a persuasion video for Justin Trudeau that would be, imagine a future where no one says mean things about you, where you don't have to listen to those gross conservatives in question period, where everyone thinks you're wonderful. Like, yeah, I actually think it could be done. All right, 12:57, we've got 3 minutes left. Let me read as many of your comments as possible. I don't think I've missed any super chats. Tony Nagy says, China wants South Africa badly. We better be careful. Well, you're so right. They bought up the rest of Africa. China is an enormous investor in Africa. And look at Sudan. When the Canadian company Talisman was drilling there, China became a partner in the Sudanese oil fields, the largest weapons seller to China, the largest buyer of weapons seller to Sudan, the largest buyer of Sudanese oil. China just rivets itself to a country, builds the local infrastructure, extracts the resources, sells the weapons. It's just an all-in-one deal. And they don't bring pesky human rights concerns like the West does. China's totally taking over Africa. By the way, I see China active even in Central America as well. Hunky Monkey, over 130 countries love Trump. We only hear about the G6 who hate Trump. Well, who says the G6 hates Trump? The leaders of the G6 might hate Trump, but even that I take issue with. I would put it to you that Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, I'm not going to say he likes Trump as a buddy, but he's figured out that he's got to get along with Trump, and I think he's figured out how to get along with Trump. Frankly, I think the language barrier probably helps because it slows things down and people don't react immediately. Like, I mean, Trudeau's just he's a short attention span. He's like a grown-up millennial, overgrown millennial, Peter Pan. So he reacts like a child. Angela Merkel clearly doesn't like Trump, but I think she works with him. The big news out of the G7 is that she agreed to increase the amount of GDP spending on the military. It's one of Trump's longstanding demands. I have no doubt that Canadians are probably like Californians in their political tastes, and that if there was a secret ballot, that most Canadians would be against Trump. But to say, I mean, Italy's new prime minister is clearly a fan of Trump, and the feeling's mutual. I think that in the United Kingdom, it's not as one-sided as people would say. Look, that country just voted for a Brexit. Anyhow, I wonder if you think I spent too much time on that persuasion video today. I just thought it was amazing, and it shows the kind of preparation that Donald Trump took to this North Korea visit, kind of preparation that in our own country we just know that Justin Trudeau's never done for anything. Kind of preparation that makes you wonder why Donald Trump bothered to come to the G7 at all. It was so unimportant by comparison. And for my British friends, I would say, imagine if Theresa May put that kind of psychology and intelligence and planning and thought and strategy into negotiating a Brexit. I think the UK would be free by now and much richer. That's Donald Trump at his best, which is why everyone is freaking out. My friends have enjoyed our conversation today. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time, same time. I'll be on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for my daily Ezra Levant show. Until next time, on behalf of us here at Rebel World headquarters in Toronto, goodbye and keep fighting for freedom.